This video is me talking about Europe and Stonehenge in the Neolithic period, starting about 5000 BCE. This was the time when Stonehenge was built, about 3600 BCE. And the construction continues in Europe as the Egyptian dynasties continue in Egypt. So it's quite clear that this is going on separately. But there is the stolen knowledge from Africa, and it goes back. It goes back to Babylon. That was the halfway point, if you will. This is how Stonehenge was built, using African knowledge stolen around Babylon from the same, we'll call them R1B group, same white secret societies that would later on steal more knowledge from Egypt. And they're not done stealing and digging up. Now, if you look at this site from BradshawFoundation.com, it starts off by telling us that during this time period, 3100 to 2800 BCE, that part of the Stonehenge is constructed. Okay, the Great Curses. Because with the Stonehenge, you have stones, you have ditches, and you have circular objects, and of course, you have the stones themselves, and it's used to keep track of the sun, and it can be used to keep track of time as well. Now, we go on to 2700 BCE. This was when the henge was constructed. So it's being constructed the whole time. We go to 2500 BCE. Okay? This is when the blue stones are erected. And this as you can see, this was a lot more magnificent and a lot more grand than it is today. So I never said that Europeans are stupid. I said all people are equal in the eyes of God, and I said the ancient Egyptians were black. It's a whole different thing than saying white people are stupid. Now I go on to the Neolithic period, 5001, between 5000 and 1000 BCE, as I said. And these people, on their own site, they go on to say, let me just read this whole paragraph right here so you understand, and I'll leave it at that. On a global perspective, agriculture was able to support increasingly large numbers of people, which led to new forms of political and social organization. Societies became more hierarchical. So, as we already have the kings in Egypt and the African kings, you have the white European leaders starting to emerge, and their society they're starting to copy the societies and the civilizations they see on the Nile and the Tigris Euphrates and the Indus Valley and along the Yellow River. And so we go on to leaders were now buried with marks of their special status, ranging from the treasures of the graves of the Tisa Polgar Cemetery on the Great Hungarian Plain to the splendor of the Egyptian pyramids. Craftsmen thrived in this new social milieu. New materials came into use: gold, copper, and alloy. Bronze. The smelting and casting of metals began to be developed. The growing bureaucracies encouraged the adoption of writing. Larger city-states stimulated the development of warfare, which stimulated larger defenses. Now, even the Europeans point out quite clearly that the first cities were being born in the fertile valleys of the Nile, which they have stated first, if you will, the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Indus and the Yellow River. These were the four primary civilizations of the old world. Among those, there are none in Western Europe. So I'm not gonna, read the whole site for you. It's BradshawFoundation.com, Stonehenge, index.php. I'm gonna actually end this here with a little more commentary. Now, what you have is the stage of mind was the stage of the mind state of mankind in this instance, because we're applying it to a macroscopic level. So big that you can't see it. We're applying it to civilization. The stage of mind of the Western Europeans was to copy the rituals of Africans and then to copy their civilizations. But it is important to note that they added their, what I refer to as a white man's twist in Illuminati Part 1, which is not always sinful and deadly. I said it can be sinful and deadly, because there were also those who emulated the good aspects of African culture, of North African culture, ancient North African, black African culture. The Illuminati are scum. Their appearance doesn't matter. I say chicken necks just because that's how Panetta looked at the time. And how he looks still, but that's beside the point. You see, the New World Order knows that God is on my side, so they are afraid. They know what I am capable of, so they are afraid. They know the consequences of martyring great men, so they are afraid. Because you can kill the man, but you can't kill the idea. The more you persecute his followers, the more it spreads. Look at Christianity. Look at Islam. Look at Judaism. Hinduism, Buddhism, Taoism. Even the ancient ideas of shamanism still remain. And we go on. As I've pointed out in many videos in my Illuminati series, I first showed you the chart of the R1B of the sore thumb in Central Africa. Might I add that I did not do that research specifically as far as the DNA, because I didn't trust the government when I made my first video. Then I believe it was over a year later, a year and a half, I make the next video, and the science of the leaked King Tut DNA, which I believe is what drew my attention to it, it vindicated the harsh statements I had claimed in my first video. That the ancient Egyptians were black, that they were mixed as time goes on. The 18th, 19th, 20th dynasty, time goes on. And when they say they restored the tradition, they also restored the bloodline of Egypt in the 25th dynasty. That is why they oppress the black man. Because they believe the time from learning from the black man is over, and the time to oppress him and take the flame from him begun. But the only flame they will be taken is one that burns so hot. And it burns for the sake of parasitic, greedy hogs. Not the righteous white people, men and women, who know damn well I am telling the truth, and that my hatred, my resentment and disdain for the white devils is justified.